Place and Time was originally published in 2012, Barry's first work of fiction after Andy Catlett was published in 2006. It includes 20 short stories from Port William. The stories are organized in chronological order spanning from 1864 to 2008. The final short story, A Place and Time, for which the collection is named, captures some of the major themes of the collection overall. In it, Andy Catlett, through his telling of the story of Elton and Mary Penn, conveys the importance of preserving memories from the past and of the place you are from. The stories in this collection are passed to the readers in each successive generation in Port William through the mouths of the townspeople. Each story represents one memory, a place and time in the history of Port William, memorialized.
On page 231, this process of sharing the knowledge of one's community is described in the following way. Much of the knowledge of their elders passed through to the boys through Elton. Sometimes it seemed that the current of love traveled among them and joined them to one another, to those who were absent, to the old times, to the land and its creatures. On page 234, Andy explains the way that the knowledge of Elton and Mary's story affects his life and how his increased knowledge later affects his understanding of the story. The story of Elton and Mary Penn survived in his memory and mine, in the fabric of his life, and in his conversations with his family and a few neighbors. As the story receded into the past, and the light of more and more days fell upon it, it changed, and it grew larger and clearer in the aspects and in Andy's understanding. Like Andy in the story, Wendell Berry provides the reader with a chance to experience the same situation. When we are first introduced to the characters, they seem interesting, but we have only scratched the surface. With each new story, the audience is allowed a little more into their lives and their history. And it isn't until we have learned this history and walked with them through their stories do we fully realize their true beings.
The first story in this collection is The Girl in the Window. It takes place in 1864. This is the story of Rebecca Daw being sent to help her Aunt Dicey after her husband is arrested during the Civil War. A Confederate cavalryman shoots a slave named Tucker for singing about freedom, and it ends with Rebecca having a defiant stare down with a Confederate soldier from behind her window. Major themes include hatred, fear, and racism. Fly Away Breath 1907 is the story of the death of Maximilla Daw, also known as Aunt Maxie or Granny Daw, who lived a very long life. Though not narrated by him, it is framed by Andy Catlett's remembering and imaginations of the history of Port William and its people. Major themes include community, family, and the treatment of elders. Down in the Valley Where the Green Grass Grows, 1930, narrated by Burley Coulter, this is the story of how Big Ellis asked Annie Mae Cordy to marry him, which occurs after Burley accidentally pulls down Big Ellis's pants while they are riding past her house. This is a humorous story whose main theme is love. Burley Coulter's Fortunate Fall, 1934. Burley Coulter's retelling of a time when he and his brother, Jarrett, took a job painting a roof for Miss Charlotte, widow of rich lawyer Jasper Levers. A plane flies overhead, and Burley steps backward to get a better view, which causes him to slide off the roof. He lands in a cedar tree, the reason he survives the fall. Themes include wealth, work, and family relationships. A Burden takes place in 1882, 1907, and 1941. This is a story about Wheeler's relationship with his Uncle Peach, which was once characterized by simple adoration, but was soon complicated by the awareness of Peach's alcoholism. Wheeler speaks of his division of love between Uncle Peach and his father, and his ultimate decision to follow his father's example. It also touches on his family's feelings regarding Peach's death. Major themes include family, history, drunkenness, and compassion. A Desirable Woman, 1938 to 1941, is the story of Laura Milby, a minister's wife, who Tom Coulter falls in love with before going to war. Themes include love, desire, community, and a preacher's role. Misery, 1943, is the story of Dory and Mars Catlett's unhappy marriage, narrated by Andy Catlett. Mars cries out in the night because of his misery, and Dory tends to him before returning to bed. Themes include marriage, happiness, industrialization, aging and mortality, the passage of time, and the past. Andy Catlett, Early Education, 1943. Andy Catlett tells humorous stories about his troublemaking childhood and recalls his parents' worry over him and his brother. Themes include parenting, discipline, curiosity, and discovery. Drought, 1944. Andy Catlett narrates his first experience of a drought, which occurred during the war his Uncle Andrew died in. Andy wishes he could attend the Big Day, an event for the black people in and around Hargrave, with his friend Dick. Themes include agriculture and farming, suffering, history, racial division, and community. Stand By Me, 1921 to 1944. The story of Jarrett Coulter following his wife's death, narrated by Burley. Burley steps in as a mother figure for Jarrett's sons, Tom and Nathan. As an adult, Tom has a falling out with Jarrett and leaves to work for the Whitlows, then the Russets. But he makes amends with his father before he is drafted in the war. After Tom is killed in action, Burley sits with Jarrett from dinner time until bedtime to keep him company. Themes include family, community, death, grief, and loneliness. Not a Tear, 1945, is Andy Catlett's retelling of Dick Watson's funeral, which he did not attend but heard about from his father. Themes include racial division, segregation, death, grief, and freedom.
The Dark Country, 1948. This story shows Burley Coulter as he focuses on the history of the land and the people who have come before him. Embracing the silence that surrounds him, he remembers the people who are now gone, some to war, others to the city, and some to the afterlife. Themes are memories and knowledge of the land. A New Day, 1949. The narrative follows Elton as he plays basketball and challenges Hackett to a team pole race. Both activities center around the idea of teamwork and Elton being a key team player, as he understands the need of those around him. Focusing on the task at hand, Elton accomplishes it with the great patience and kindness. Major themes here are teamwork and kindness. Mike, 1949. Andy tells the time his father received Mike, their English setter. Mike becomes a dog loved by everyone, but most of all by Andy's father. When his father goes hunting, he is accompanied by many interesting people, each with their own unique story. It ends with the burial and the blessing of old Mike. Themes include love and understanding. Who Dreamt This Dream, 1966. This is a short glimpse into Jaber's barbershop as Grover Gibbs, a man who sometimes finds pleasure in lying, reports that Burley Coulter has passed away. Confused, Jaber leaves to investigate, only to find Coulter alive and well. Themes here are lying. The Requirement, 1970. Biggs was a stocky man who took life at a leisurely pace, and as death approached him, he did not move any faster. His friend Coulter Burley sits by him, providing him with comfort and a listening ear, as they recall their life together. Themes here are memories and death. An Empty Jacket, 1947. Marcy finds that his mentor and uncle, Elton, has passed away. He comes to realize that this means what it means to be an adult and to feel the pain and absence of a loved one. Themes here are coming to adulthood, death, and absence. At Home, 1981. As Art walks the open fields of the land he remembers those who have come before him and the impact they have left on his life. As he comes to terms with his own aging, he also has to come to terms with the notion that nothing is ever permanent. Major themes here are change and memories. Sold, 1991. Beulah Gibbs is the last of her family and is in failing health. She must sell her farm and her house. She must sit there as her memories and her family history is spread out across the country through the estate auction. Themes here include change, memories, and coming to an end. Finally, A Place in Time, 1938 to 2008. A story of Elton and Mary Penn's life through the eyes of their neighbor Andy Catlett. He sees the hard work and determination in both of them and questions the reasoning behind the disownment of Mary's parents. Themes here are memories, stories, love, history, and understanding. Overall, A Place in Time is a well-crafted collection of stories about the importance of memories and the passing on of history of the land. While some are more melancholy, they are balanced by the humorous stories which together keep the audience fully engaged. For those who already know and love Port William, these stories bring to life the beloved members, creating in the reader a deeper understanding of their legacies. For those who have not yet been introduced to Wendell Berry's fictional world, these stories do not offer a full picture of the characters involved, but still give enough characterizing detail to make them come to life. We would recommend this book to people who prefer connecting to characters over the thrilling plots, as these stories are more character-centered. That being said, both of us enjoyed spending a little more time with the people of Port William.